Since 1980, when Nigeria joined other nations to commemorate May 1st as Workers' Day, it has not looked back. Every year, workers use the opportunity of the celebration to speak to their challenges and success stories. This year, it is the first for the Bola Tinubu's administration, and the president is represented here by the Vice President Kashim Shettima. Organized labor conveyed workers' dissatisfaction over the increasing economic hardship that is biting hard on the people. They are even more worried that a new minimum wage is yet to be decided and consequently issued a deadline.
Should the minimum wage negotiation continue and linger till the end of May, we can no longer guarantee industrial harmony in this country.
Organized labor is equally not pleased with the recent hike in electricity tariff.
The NLC and TUC hereby advise NEC and power sector operators to revise the last increase in electricity tariff within the next 1 week.
But the government says it is not oblivious of the challenges the nation faces and promises to continue to prioritize citizens' welfare.
To reassure Nigerian workers that we are working diligently around the clock with organized labor to conclude negotiations and ensure a successful outcome. The Nigerian workers should be rest assured that despite the short delay, the minimum wage will take effect on from 1st May 2024.
The federal government convened a 37-member tripartite committee on minimum wage. The committee's mandate was to provide counsel and suggest a national minimum wage that aligns with our current economic conditions. Unfortunately, despite concerted efforts, the committee was unable to reach a consensus at its last meeting. These shall be resolved soon, and I assure you that your days of worrying are over. Indeed, this government is open to the committee's suggestion of not just a minimum wage, but a living wage.
I want to congratulate all the dock workers, the shipping, the seafarers, the Nigeria Port Authority, including all the maritime stakeholders, for being supportive, for remembering that May Day is a ritual that we celebrated every year. And I want to thank all the management of respected stakeholders for doing good for our members. But for those ones that have not been doing good for them, they got touch their hearts to remember that labor creates wealth.
We celebrate with them. We understand what they are going through. We empathize with them. But we know it's a struggle. It will soon be over. They should not lose hope. They should be consistent and look forward. Victory is a certain.
Despite the economic situation that we find ourselves, the struggle still continues. Nothing will deter us from celebration. All hope is not yet lost. We are hoping that it will be well. The committee for the minimum wage negotiation is still on. We are very hopeful that sooner or later a very good take-home will be mentioned by the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The economic situation is bad. There are a lot of hardship. You could attest to it too. Even the turn-up today. I'm not saying the turn-up is poor, but the turn-up is not like that of last year. The cost of transportation has drastically changed. Even within the week, you could see suddenly queue has resurfaced in our various filling stations. So you could attest to the fact that that must have affected most of the workers in coming out.
Every one of them to remain resolute, to remain consistent in the struggle, because times are not usual again. It's not what we expect it to be. And it is the time that we have to be much stronger, more together, and ensure that we are not broken, but face the challenges and ensure that what is rightfully ours is actually received.
Their expectation, I knew that is too much, but all that we are saying, they should remain calm. By His grace, we are going to achieve, we are going to overcome all our problems.
The International Workers' Day celebration is promoted by the International Labour Movement. It's a day marked every 1st of May to celebrate the achievements of workers. May Day has its origin in the labour movement, which advocated 8 hours of work, 8 hours of recreation, and 8 hours of rest for workers. The movement became popular in the 19th century when workers in the industrialized countries fought for fair wages, better working conditions, and the right to form labor unions. By the 20th century, the International Workers' Day became a day to demand for better working conditions, higher wages, and more rights. As organized labor in Nigeria celebrates the 2024 May Day, workers are lamenting the growing trend of casualization and poor pay in the country. In this context, I met with some workers in the private security sector. They lament poor salary received by workers in the sector. Fola, a private security guard, tells me that he receives below the minimum wage of 30,000 naira as a monthly salary, with no access to health care.
It would have been a very good advice if a government could take charge of all this slavery work. Because most of them, they are just using the citizen as a slavery, and whereby they are making wealth from them. So someone will be working that is supposed to collect 70,000 naira, they will be paying 17,000 or 20,000. So there's no way the person can survive it. Most of them, at the end of the day, they engage in stealing. They find it very difficult to cope. Even when they are working in that in any company, they will find it very difficult to discharge their duty as it's supposed to be because of the poor salary they are paying them. So if government can come to their aid in taking total charge of all this, so that the payment, they can employ them direct, so that all this money being paid to a third party will be removed. That's my advice, so that they will be taken away from the slavery land, which they have been on a decade for many years.
You start from somewhere. You say where the necessity is not available, the availability becomes the necessity. So what you don't have, I desire, is not available. So the little one I see is what I'm doing at the moment. But the journey has been so tough. There are a lot of challenges yet untackled. The enumeration is too low, below expectation.
I met with Joseph Ologbonyo, the president of the National Union of Private Guards of Nigeria. He wants the federal government to register the union to ensure protection of rights of workers in the sector.
Our sector, nobody is happy our sector. If you look about the sector, they are just intimidate the citizen of the country. One where they will collect a contract, 60,000, they will pay a guard 15,000, and the government official, they are not ready to fight to fight for the citizens of the country. There's no medical, no insurance, no leave, and they can just send you away at any time.
Some stakeholders spoke about their expectations from the International Workers' Day celebration.
We really want to commend the resilience of Nigerian workers. They've played their part in the context of national development. As employers, we'll continue to support Nigerian workers. We'll continue to take their welfare, as paramount within the context of our limitation. We'll continue to promote decent work. We'll continue to promote occupational health and safety, and trusting that the workers from their side will also upscale productivity, because they have to meet the employers somewhere in the middle. For government, we want to urge the government to continue to do the needful. Even the conversation about the minimum wage, it is less of the figure. It is more of what the figure can buy. So government should also step up its reforms and ensure that those reforms start yielding the necessary fruits.
The Workers' Day globally is a day set aside to recognize the contribution of workers to all facets of development, be it economical, social, and otherwise, because workers create the wealth of the world, and therefore they need to be recognized. And this is a practice that had been there from the 1894 or thereabouts. And it's a day also that workers reflect on some of the challenges in the workplace, issues of occupational health and safety, issues of changing working conditions, issues of minimum wage, broader issues that affect the world of work, even issues of the condition of work in many different places. So it's a day outside the recognition of their contribution. It's a day also that we canvass for policy change and policy options that will recognize the dignity of a worker.
For workers like Fola Agwola and others across the world seeking living wage and decent work, they hope that the struggle of past labor leaders for better welfare will not be in vain. On the profile interview segments this week, I'll be speaking with the president of NLC, Comrade Joe Ajero. It brings us up to speed on how workers fared in the last 1 year, while also emphasizing on the need for the federal government to ensure that the minimum wage negotiation is concluded in good time. It's good to have you on the program. Congratulations on a successful outing. Can you bring us up to speed on how workers have been faring in the last 1 year between May 2023 and May 2024?
Well, thank you very much. It has not been bed of roses. The challenge has been enormous. Last May Day was a normal May Day, just like a few May Days before it. But immediately after that May Day, just close to the end of May 29th, the narrative changed by a mere pronouncement on the removal of subsidy. Everybody started running helter-skelter. Nigerian workers, Nigerian people, started lamenting. And it was real. The level of change and adjustment that from 185, 195 to about 500 and something in the first instance, and probably around 600 or 700, was such a dramatic shift that it impacted on real wages. And between that time, how we responded to it and how the Nigerian state, responded to our reaction was a very big, determinant on what was happening in the industrial relations space. So, and that was what has been. Now, other byproducts, like wage award, like trying palliatives, all those issues were drawn. And even the reaction and insistence that the refineries must work were all direct responses, from the increase, in pump prices of PMS. Ordinarily, I will tell you that the issue of deregulation or no deregulation could be an economic ideology, but it translated to increase in pump prices, which we had to confront with on a daily basis. So we equally came up with some other options like the issue of CNG as a viable alternative. And at that point, those in charge, some of the functionaries of government were asking us what is the meaning of CNG. And we explained to them, and they saw it as a likely option. And we argued that if we had discussed these options before removal of subsidy, probably the CNG could have taken effect. And if it takes effect, even when you remove subsidy, nobody will witness it. But we had thought, that they could have given it adequate attention, and that within 3 months or 4 months, we could have gone far on the issue of CNG. We could have equally drastically mitigated the effect of the increase in pump prices of PMS. So that has been the issue. And then within this 1 year, we are calculating, the old minimum wage expired. It expired on the 18th of April. Ordinarily, yes, a law that has a lifespan, before the expiration of that law, you had about 4 years or 5 years to have, done the amendment, change the new minimum wage. We won't say it came out to us by surprise if after 5 years and the new minimum wage was to take effect from 18th of April, and up to now we have not concluded that matter. So you can see that these are some of the developments that we have witnessed, and within that time the naira started falling, crashing down. Inflation went to double digit, and on and on and on. Almost cost of living became another thing, and the worker happened to be at the receiving end. So that is what has transpired, as far as industrial relation practice, what actually took place in the economy and the policy direction of the state is indirectly impacting on the worker. There's no permanent solution. Even if you had paid people palliative, it is not a permanent solution. It's mere tokenism.
To cushion the effect.
Yes, to cushion the effect. But to what extent is the effect being cushioned? I think that's where we are now.
So what's been the relationship with government in terms of getting them to do things, in terms of collective bargaining agreement?
Well, a government will be government, the way it is. Every government in power have their own approach. But I would have preferred an approach of, this is the problem. How do we solve it? The solution could come from the unions. The solution could come from government. Or this is the way we want to do it. What do you think? If you do it that way, it will affect us to this extent. Since we are the people that will suffer it, or the people that will implement the policy, we suggest you do it this. And if you have such interaction, there won't be problem. But when you have a fifth columnist, there are people that will just write banner headlines. They may write labor insults Minister A or B. They will give interpretation, labor uncompromising, and all that. Then it is a problem. It's a problem to an extent that instead of you people engaging, there is a third force. For instance, this electricity tariff, the next 1 week reverse it, follow the law, follow the rules. The administrative rules set up for the, for you to have tariff increase, follow it, consult. That one well. Now, the other one, minimum wage has expired. As of today, we don't have any minimum wage. But the labor movement will still endure till the end of May. And it's enough time to conclude this matter. Now, but you see a lot of interpretations. They're uncompromising, whatever. So, but if they engage labor, this one you said within whatever 1 month. Meanwhile, the president in his speech presented by either the Minister of Labor or VP now said it will take effect from this month. But we can harmonize it because it will not take effect from this month. It will take effect from the 18th. And we harmonize it and move ahead. It then means it's equally conscious that the old one has expired. So we'll come up with something that is mutually, acceptable to the parties and that is doable and move on. So we are open.
Can you tell me what would happen if the necessary stakeholders, after the expiration of the ultimatum, what should we be expecting from labor?
Apart from the unilateral nature of the action of NEC, of not consulting extensively with the relevant stakeholders, there are some other areas that are faulty. The act is clear. They have to, do public hearing with the relevant labor and other stakeholders. Labor as in the NLC general and other workers, and the workers in the sector, that's the immediate stakeholders in the power sector, I'm not sure that actually took place. That is one. Two, having a discriminatory supply system makes it suspect. These people are on band A, will give you 20 hours. These people are on band C, maybe will give you 6 hours. Why? Electricity is not stranded anywhere. If you can give somebody in Bayelsa 20 hours, you can give somebody in Lagos 20 hours, you can give somebody in Sokoto 20 hours. If probably the conveying machinery, maybe the transmission line or the distribution network is in order. Now if it is not in order, it is their duty, assuming the transformer is bad, to produce a relief transformer or to do line tracing, to correct it for the people. But for you to deliberately now give certain number of people 20 hours and increase the money you're going to charge them for 20 hours and give the other people 6 hours and probably charge them less according to what you are saying. What informs it? Apart from the electricity bill for economic purposes, it is for social services. And we felt that in Nigeria of today, we can't have apartheid, we can't have discriminatory electricity supply. It's just like saying that you are going to give people in one state, let's say Lagos, enough fuel, and that the people in Abuja, you give them fuel 2 times a day because you banded it. Maybe the ones in Lagos, you gave them band A, this one, just like any other product, including kerosene, including Gari. Oh, I'm going to send only 1 bag of Gari to Abuja, but I will send 20 bags to Kaduna. Now, how do you come to such economic policy or calculation, which is what they have done in terms of what is happening in electricity? And the involvement of the Ministry of Power is suspect. For you to go into price fixing in a deregulated economy or deregulated sector, we were made to understand that such sectors are driven by market forces. And then for you now to say, we are going to charge you this, it's going to be this amount, then there's a problem in it. Because after privatization, the state were supposed to hands off, despite the fact that the Nigerian state still controls 40% in some of the sectors, especially in the discos. Now, why will even a minister be talking of that if this tariff is not paid, Nigerians will be without electricity? That's a threat. It doesn't have any role. Electricity Regulatory Commission has a critical role. But even in the Act, there was a provision for Consumer Assistance Fund, where it was provided that those Nigerians who cannot provide or who don't have money to this, that the Consumer Assistance Fund will release this amount for them to have supply. As we talk today, there's even no parameter to determine those Nigerians that cannot afford electricity.
What will be your reaction to the incessant fuel scarcity that Nigerians are battling with?
Let me say this, and that's whether electricity, whether PMS or diesel. Countries of this world, especially Europe, are going to renewed energy. They are paying more attention to what we call green energy, solar, wind, hydro. Studies have proved that it is cheaper to go through renewable energy than using the fossil fuel, which is what we are using today. If you continue to use fossil fuel, use gas, use fuel, use all these ones, the prices will continue to go high. And there will be much pressure on this same PMS because you will use it to generate electricity. If you know countries where you have CNG and even electric motors, you discover that you reduce that number of liters that is being consumed through vehicles and the pollution that goes with it. Nigeria government promised the whole world in the climate change conference that they will ensure a zero emission policy by 2060. And there's no effort being made today. So if we are generating electricity through hydro, water, and it's a renewable energy, if we are generating through solar or even wind turbines, you will discover that there will be less pressure on PMS.
Thank you very much for your time. And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember that labor creates wealth.